Welcome again to another part of Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice, which is a very well known comedy. If you look at an earlier video, Easy English Storytelling, you will find that there I have told you the story, of course, only a small part of it. Today's video is about the literary aspects of The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Those of you who want to watch the earlier video but haven't done it yet can send me a comment and I will give you the link. Wherever you have problems of finding a video which is already uploaded, please send me a comment and you will get the correct link. If you're watching on computer, that is your laptop, etc., you can easily search for the video. There is a column for searching. But if you're watching on your mobile, then you can ask me and I will give you the link. Let us first begin by seeing what we are going to discuss in the literary analysis of The Merchant of Venice. First, we shall talk about the plot and the subplot. As I told you, story is already there, you can watch. Since this is a comedy, the important aspect of plot is marriage. So in the plot, we have main characters, the protagonists, Bassanio and Portia's marriage. In the subplot, we have Shylock's daughter, Jessica, getting married to Lorenzo without her father's permission. So we have a parallel in the plot and subplot. Portia chooses according to her father's wishes, although the father is dead. And Jessica runs away without telling her father and then chooses to marry Lorenzo. The four important characters whom we have already discussed in the earlier video: Antonio, who is the Merchant of Venice, the title role. The title is the Merchant of Venice. Antonio is that merchant. Bassanio is the protagonist, but he's a friend of Antonio. And Portia, the girl whom Bassanio marries. Shylock is the antagonist. Antagonist is the villain. And Shylock is the link between the plot and the subplot, because it is Shylock's daughter, Jessica, who is the main character in the subplot. She takes away all the wealth and she runs away to get married to Lorenzo. She has to run away because Shylock is a Jew. Obviously, Jessica is also a Jew. Lorenzo is a Christian, so the marriage between them is fairly difficult. Therefore, we have this subplot in the play. We shall discuss the themes in great detail: friendship, loyalty, greed, vengeance, and gender equity. There are four symbols which are very important. One is the three caskets. We shall discuss that. Then you have the word pound of flesh. From Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice, today the word pound of flesh has become an idiom. Then Shylock's ring and Bassanio's ring are two important symbols. Then you have the literary devices. Storm as loss, because the Merchant of Venice, that is Antonio, loses everything in a storm at sea. And then you have the disguise of Portia. Portia disguises as a judge and she comes to argue the case of Antonio. We shall talk about this. The main plot is Antonio borrowing money from Shylock, who's a Jew moneylender, and not being able to pay it back. He doesn't need the money himself. He borrows it from his friend Bassanio, who wants to get married to a rich lady, Portia, so he cannot go without a little bit of pomp. Therefore, he needs money. And when Bassanio is married already, Shylock finds that he's not getting back his money, his ducats, that is the currency used. And then he says that I want my promise to be redeemed. And what is that promise? That he will be able to cut off 1 pound of flesh from the place closest to Antonio's heart. Of course, Antonio will die. Then Portia comes to save him, but Portia is disguised. She pretends to be a judge and comes and argues that you can take flesh, but you can't spill a drop of blood. If you do that, then you will be punished. And that is how the case is resolved. Antonio's life is saved. In the meantime, Jessica, who's tired of her father, who's very, very stingy. He's a very thrifty person. He doesn't allow any money to be spent. She takes away all the gold, everything, including the ring which Shylock had. And that is possibly his wife's ring, who's no longer alive. So he becomes very emotional. And all his money also, Jessica has taken away. So suffers from a great humiliation. That is the subplot. Lorenzo is also one of the group of friends. There are many friends whom I am not mentioning here. When you read the play, you will come across all of them. The main characters in the play are Antonio, Bassanio, Shylock, and Portia. These are usually characters who are asked if you're writing an exam. Antonio's character is a person who represents friendship at a personal loss. He's very unselfish to his friends. He is willing to give his life for Bassanio, who's his best friend. Bassanio has great loyalty, although he is just married, but he is willing to come away to save his friend, leaving his new bride. He says to Portia that I have to go. I cannot stay with you now because my friend is in danger. So these two people have great friendship. Bassanio, of course, has a problem, and that is, although he is very rich, born in a rich family, but he spends off all his money. That is why he has to borrow. Antonio is very rich because he is a merchant and his ships are all at sea. He says, when my ships come back, I can pay any amount of money. But Bassanio doesn't want to wait. So they go to the money lender Shylock. And Shylock's character is a character which is very cruel. He wants to take revenge because very often Antonio has said bad things about him. You know, in a country where the majority are Christians, Shakespeare depicts that the Jews were given a bad name. And here Shylock is really a bad man. So he says, you have cursed me many times in the marketplace. Now I want your pound of flesh. So he says, I don't want money. If you cannot return the money, 3,000 ducats, on a particular day, I don't want money. I want after that date, I want only a pound of flesh. This is what the promise is. And in this way we find that the character of Shylock is something which is very portrayed in a very negative way. Then we come to Portia. In the comedies of Shakespeare, the women characters are very powerful. Today we study them as the gender balance which Shakespeare did more than 400 years ago. So you can understand how modern he was. Portia is a much smarter lady than all these people. She says, I can save your friend, but she doesn't tell Bassanio. She wants to keep it a secret. And then after having saved Antonio, she demands the ring from Bassanio. She says that you want to pay me, then please pay me by giving the ring on your finger. Bassanio doesn't want to give the ring because this is the ring Portia has given him just now in marriage. This lawyer in disguise is actually Portia. She wants to test Bassanio, and therefore the ring plays a very important role and it becomes very significant. The marriage also, Portia is very, very loyal to her father because the father is no longer alive, but he has given her 3 boxes, one of gold, one of silver, and the third one of lead. So people who want to marry her, because she's very beautiful and very rich, many people come, princes and noblemen. They have to choose one of the boxes. And if they choose the right box, only then Portia will marry them. So Portia has no choice. She is willing to listen to her dead father. Therefore, we find that Portia's first 2 suitors come, they choose gold and silver. Portia is very happy because she doesn't want to marry them. She knows that she loves Bassanio, but when Bassanio comes, she doesn't help him at all. That is how honest she is. She is a character who's painted very beautifully. And finally, Bassanio makes the correct choice and they get married. Now we move on to the themes. There are many interesting themes in the play, as I have shown you already in the slide. Friendship is a major theme in this play. Shylock pretends to be very friendly when Antonio and Bassanio go to take money from him. Antonio has many other friends who are always with him, trying to cheer him up when he has lost everything, when all his wealth is lost. The ships are all drowned in the sea. Now he's become a totally poor man. So he has very good friends. And what does that mean? That unless you are a very good friend, you don't get good friends. Bassanio is his very good friend who's willing to give everything, including his own flesh, to save Antonio. So friendship between Antonio and Bassanio, Antonio and all the other men in the story, which you will read when you read the play, shows that the theme of friendship is very important. The Merchant of Venice doesn't have any family or anybody mentioned in the play, but his friends are his closest family. Therefore, the next theme is loyalty. Friendship depends on loyalty, and therefore we find that all the friends are very loyal to each other. There is a negative aspect of this, and that is Jessica's disloyalty. Jessica should listen to the father, like Portia does. Portia is a symbol of loyalty. The friends are symbols of loyalty. But Jessica is not loyal to the father. Now we might feel that because Shylock is not a good father, he's not a nice person, Jessica's disloyalty is very nice. But Shakespeare is not giving us any such indication. Jessica has gone away, she's got married, but there is always this contrast between Portia and Jessica, that Portia listened to her father although the father is not alive. Jessica betrayed her father although the father is alive. Now we move on to the next theme, and that is greed. Shylock is very greedy. He has a lot of money. He charges a huge interest for lending money. He lends money and he charges interest. So he doesn't really need money. He can tell Antonio that if you cannot pay on such and such a date, I will wait for a month or 2 months. Don't worry. But he doesn't do that. His greed is such that he wants the money which he lends to come back to him hundredfolds. He wants more money and more money so that he can hoard the money. He keeps that money with him. Now, there is also another theme related to this greed, and that is vengeance. Vengeance is to take revenge. Shylock says that there was no way I could get Antonio in my grip. There was no way I could take revenge on all the abuses and insults which Antonio and his friends have given me. Therefore, what I can do now is when Antonio has come to me for help, I can take him in my grip and I can kill him. Therefore, they draw up a promise. They draw up a document saying that on such and such a date, if I don't return your money, I will give 1 pound of my flesh from closest to my heart. And as it so happens, the money does not come. Shylock doesn't want the money. He wants that pound of flesh. He wants to kill Antonio, but legally. Law is very important. I think I did not mention that. The legal aspects are very important in the play because there is an entire scene in court. The court scene is the most central scene of this entire play. So Shylock says, legally I can kill him. It is not a crime. Therefore, let me make this. And this is how I will take revenge against him by killing him in this one thing. Of course, he doesn't know that the ships will fail, but he's fortunate the ships fail. And then he gets, he keeps sharpening his knife. And that sharpening of the knife is an image which remains in the audience's mind. That in the court, Shylock is constantly sharpening his knife, saying, now I will cut your pound of flesh. And then, of course, you have the theme of gender. Bassanio and Antonio are good friends. They are very nice people. But the most intelligent person in the play is Portia. So we have this gender balance. We have this gender equity. Women are not helpless. Women are not somebody who is kept, in the sidelines. Here, Portia's role is the central role in saving Antonio. Antonio, who's the merchant of Venice. So the entire play is about Antonio. And who is able to give a second life to Antonio? That is Portia. So we call it as gender equity, balance between the gender roles which are given. Almost all the roles are male, but Portia and her maid and Jessica, these are the 3 women. And Portia plays such an important role. Now we move to the symbols. The storm in which Antonio loses everything is a symbol of loss. So storm at sea, unpredictable. You can't know when the ships will come back with all the all the merchandise which he wants. The ships have gone to sail. They will bring back, they'll sell that and he will make money. That is his profession. But if the storm comes, nobody can predict it. In those days, it's a story of ancient times when you did not have so many gadgets in order to handle a ship. So the shipwreck was very common. This concept of the storm, the shipwreck, etc. are very important symbols because Antonio's fate depends on the ships coming back or the ships being lost in the storm at sea. Then you have the symbol of the 3 caskets. I already mentioned this to you. The 3 caskets represent the father's will. Usually we write will in a piece of paper by saying this will go to this one and so on. Here the father's will is locked in 3 boxes. And Portia, as a good daughter, follows it. The caskets also symbolize that Bassanio is the right choice and not the others who are rich and who are very important people. The prince and the noblemen who come, they are not good enough. because Bassanio is a really good person. Therefore, the father has made the right choice of caskets, and Portia has followed it to find the person she likes to, she wants to get married to. Then you have two rings as symbols. Bassanio's ring is a symbol of embarrassment. First it is a symbol of exchange of loyalty, of marriage vows. Jessica says, I marry you by giving you this ring. But later it becomes a problem, a humiliation for him, because if he gives the ring, Portia, when he goes home, will scold. He doesn't know that this person who's asking for the ring is Portia. And Shylock's ring is a symbol of his emotion. Shylock is not totally emotionless. When his ring is lost, Jessica sells away that ring, he feels very sad. Now we have the literary devices. We have very important literary devices, and that is the storm. As I told you, storm as loss. It can function as a symbol because it symbolizes the problems of Antonio. The danger to Antonio's life is symbolized by the storm. Whereas in the dramatic device, storm is something which carries the play forward. And then you have the disguise of Jessica. Jessica does not come as Jessica to save Antonio. She dresses up as her cousin, who's a lawyer. She dresses up as a man. This used to happen very often in Shakespeare's plays because all the actors were men. The girls were all younger men. And she dresses up as a man and she comes and saves Antonio. So the disguise of Jessica is a very important dramatic device to carry the plot forward. That is the role of dramatic devices. All these are the literary aspects of The Merchant of Venice. Whenever you have a doubt on any literature or you want more literature texts, please send a comment in the comment box. If you want the previous video, again send a comment. Also remember that many literature texts are there, including many plays of Shakespeare. Watch all of them, tell me what you want, what more you want, but you must see that the videos reach far and wide. Tell people who are studying literature to subscribe and watch all these videos. Share the videos with everyone you know, your colleagues, if your teachers, your friends, your classmates, everybody. And then let me know how you like the videos, what you want to learn. Thank you and all the best.